banned away by RNG. Lucian having dropped in priority quite heavily. This was super high prio earlier. It feels like teams have kind of solved answers to it. Something to note is more pocket picks targeted by V5, the Nautilus and the Lissandra from Xiaohu and Ming respectively. Now, Senna first pick for V5. I do like the fact that they don't like take Senna or Tahm on 2-3. They give an opportunity to adapt to what RNG takes, and they pick the Lee Sin up for Wei. Remember, has been buffed on the patch. And potentially looking at an 80 carry here for Gala.
That's a really good point that you talk out straight off the bat. You're into the Lee Sin way, right? Karsa's favorite champion historically, the same deal. That's something we might have to talk about extensively as we go throughout this series. A big jungler for both of them as we also start talking about our mid laners too. The Ahri hovered, but for Xiaohu, this would be a pretty early Azir. We're going through it, and Aux had to peculiar lock in this early in the draft.
Yeah. A bit of a bold one to come out. Obviously, something that contests prio quite hard early and does scale well into later stages of the game. We'll see how that does end up panning out. Now, Ahri going to come out. You know what the mid lane matchup is, and Ahri's still pretty strong, so it makes sense there. The Tahm comes through. Now, RNG don't have an opportunity to pick both bot laners to react, but they'll just take the Gwen on 3, and this is a team we know they're Gwen prio. Finals MSI. They picked Gwen 3 games. They banned Gwen 2 games. It was all about the Gwen for them, and Breathe is very confident in this pick. So now, RNG can ban away top lane counters that Rich might take. Kale could be something they take off the cards if they're concerned about that. We also see GP be a good matchup into it. For V5, it's bot lane bans. You know, you can look towards the likes of that Kalista, the Lucian, if you want to trim down those strong bot lane duos. Even the Ezreal is something we often picked into the Senna, but they will start off with that Renata.
But take a step back, let's talk more about the top lane. You already mentioned the Kale here. I want to go a little bit deeper because Rich so far has played Kale, Gwen, Ornn, GP, and Sejuani. Almost a unique champion each game, bar the double up of the Kale. So there are a lot of options here. And we know that Rich on the GP with the Senna Tahm Aux, something that's been done by a couple of teams before. So what are your thoughts with the Jace band away here about direction for V5 in their 4th and 5th?
I think there's still a lot of picks that V5 can take to respond. The Jace is something that bullies you out early, and the poke is threatening to Azir especially with the range of V5's composition. The Kale is something that outscales, but as you said, there's still like the Akali, the Kennen as counters. We don't really see the Kennen as much anymore. The GP is a fine matchup they could take. I could see that coming out. But for now, for V5, we didn't see the Kalista ban, but we saw the Renata, part of that combo. We saw the Lucian ban. That kind of makes me think Ezreal is left open as that pick that RNG would take. And now for V5, they get to secure that top and jungle. A lot of junglers trimmed in the pool. And I think when we've seen so much Lee Sin, Viego, Wukong, kind of makes you think what else is going to potentially come out from V5. Is Vi is something, especially when you have so much mobility that you could answer with. Zinzao is something we've seen buffed on the patch that people are playing more.
We also seen things like Trundle, right? Trundle Poppy was looked at. That's a Karsa speciality as well. Rich going to go for the Gnar, so we don't get something that exciting up at the top side. And Aux, as it all comes together, now it's just about the jungle pick, and we get early game aggression here from Karsa. I'm already seeing the mid 2v2 that I'll talk to you about in a second, but first, quickly, give me the response from RNG because it is about Xiaohu, not Xiaohu in the mid lane, excuse me. It's about Ming and what he pulls up against the Tahm Kench.
The typical pick we see here is the Karma. That is the standard, like, harass lane, bully out. You could also pick the Rakan. Not as strong in the laning phase, but fantastic in teamfights and was buffed on this patch. Gives you a really strong engage. And it looks like they might just end up locking that in. I'm pretty happy with this. I think it's a good pick. Now, we can kind of take stock of where the game is after the drafts. For V5, they have the Ahri, which, you know, we can talk endlessly about the level 6 strengths, but the Rek'Sai as well, a counter matchup with Lee Sin. Strong skirmishing, strong gank paths. Bot lane is going to be Senna Tahm favored. You kind of absorb the poke of Ezreal and just harass back. And even top lane, the range advantage of Gnar lets them set up the lane. So V5, they will want to get ahead early, which is something they should be able to do with this composition. For RNG, they have the scaling matchup mid, the scaling matchup top, and a bot lane where it gets to the point where Ezreal will outrange Senna until she gets a ton of souls. The Rakan, fantastic in teamfights as well. So I think RNG, it's mostly about mitigating the enemy team, whereas V5 are, you know, like a V8, just going pedal to the metal.
On a bit of a time will be nice. We just had a highlight reel of Dream talking about the new mid laner here for V5, filling in for Rookie Shoes before he comes back. Now, for this Rek'Sai, for Karsa, when he's on a timer Aux as well, when we have an Ahri in the mid lane, I'm going to be talking to you a lot about the early game windows that he can abuse and how this strong CC duo through mid jungle can really push ahead. Because for V5, you know, we're just talking about getting beaten out in Spring 2022 in the playoffs against Top Esports, where Top Esports had such a big early game. For V5, we know this team can also be bloody, up against RNG, pushing them to the limit. We know that RNG can be 10 of the slower teams, Orcs, and they need a while to get going when we have Azir, when we have Breathe on Gwen, Ezreal as well here, Orcs. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out as we go into our match of the week. RNG versus V5. V5 without a loss against their name, but RNG, it won't surprise you, are 2-0 themselves. Welcome to the patient who have been with us through the 6 games prior to this to get to this point. One team is going home with a loss here tonight, and the other rising to the top 3 of the LPL. Orcs, where would you like to start on this one, considering there is a lot to break down with very different drafts?
Well, I kind of want to talk about the amount of TPs we're seeing in this game. Gala has TP, ppgod has TP, both mid laners have TP, both top laners too. I think this kind of talks about the how these lanes, as much as I gave the advantage to V5's laners in the matchups, none of them are significant enough. Actually, sorry, I said top and bot, but Dream is kind of like what you can do out of lane. Xiaohu should have the advantage in the 1v1. But none of them are like Gnar is going to stomp Gwen enough to really matter. Senna Tahm usually doesn't stomp Ezreal Rakan enough for it to really matter, especially with Rakan's buffs. It really comes down to Karsa and what he can do. If you just let your lanes play out as normal, RNG will outscale and they will be fine. You need to find these gank patterns. So I think tracking the Rek'Sai and what he does is really important. The big power of this pick is the being able to tunnel over walls and make things happen there. But before we get to jungle pathing, we see a bit of cheese. V5's bot lane didn't need to leash, and so they're going to look for a bit of a trade on the RNG here.
Ming will be walking into this one as well. Tongue Lash comes through. Photic with the 20 gold, and that starts things off. Now we talked about early pressure. Look at this. Level 2 gank towards mid. Xiaohu's level 1. The flash might have to be burned here, and Dream is walking into him with all the damage you can hold on. Xiaohu holding on with the Prey Seeker, tagging over the wall. Ward down. Blast Cone going to be used. It's a chase as Karsa continues cuddling in. But hey,
Rich,
you
got this?
Would you like a freebie? Xiaohu running through, the Prey Seeker given. Rich gonna share in the spoils, and just like that, the V5 top laner gets first blood, and Karsa gets started as early as possible.
So a ton of time invested for that. No summoner's bait from Azir, and Azir can just TP back in. But I like the window. One of the things with Azir is his safety. Once he gets that dash, very hard to gank him, even for a Rek'Sai. And so he goes for that level 2 gank. Xiaohu doesn't expect it. And as a result, he does end up going down. And Rich is like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take 400 gold and Fierce Blood. Why not?
A great start for V5, but I'm glad you gave me the balance here. As Xiaohu teleports back in, the time means that Dream as well, even in CS for the time being, the wave pushing against the turret of Xiaohu. And Rich is actually down on the top side despite the kill. Wave crashing against him, but Breathe and Wei get a bit of time to go into the enemy jungle and take away a camp here.
Yeah, taking that opportunity. I like to see them do this. The Gwen, pretty strong. We saw the invade last game, that was level 1. But still, the Lee Sin able to make this happen. And there was a big cost for Karsa going for those plays, for that extended chase down. But he has been able to mitigate a decent amount. He's only, well, he's 2 camps down now, which is obviously ideal. But that's the thing with the Rek'Sai. He ain't playing a scale, playing for those ganks. Bot lane, you can see, kind of going as expected. The Ezreal and Rakan will get shoved under. But there's a decent amount of sustain. That was one of the things that was buffed with Rakan on this patch, is the sustain on his Q. Heal is a bit higher. His shield is a bit stronger. And also his W cooldown is reduced. So all nice changes to make him a bit more able to bear this pressure coming out from Senna Tahm.
And then get to the team fights like you talked about. You know, add the engage here for RNG. The follow-up's going to be huge. So for RNG in a game that needs to pace itself out, it's already started off on an odd foot. First blood to V5, a gold lead about 800 here kicks things off. And Wei is trying to mitigate that fact. Rich deep in the lane here, Orcs, and Breathe might be out of mana, but the wave looks to be pushing up, and Rich wants it to reset.
Yeah, Rich is trying to get this to crash. It is a bit risky, but he's got Mega, which means he feels a bit more comfortable. He should feel to... No, Breathe can just hold this and keep the wave frozen, so Rich is going to have to overstay. And this could be the window to look for the gank, but I guess maybe they're scared about Karsa being here. Yeah. And ultimately, they're not going to go for the play.
Karsa are actually putting a ward ping down. Assuming that blue buff is warded, he's pathing around. Scuttle, of course, not going to spot him. Going into Wei's jungle. And the V5 jungler just looking for whatever's available, or maybe an avenue into getting in this top side.
And even saw question mark ping come out in lane from Breathe. They knew he was going to be on the top side of the map. They didn't know quite where he'd be, so they didn't want to risk the play. Which, you know, I think that that call is correct in that situation. Not trying to overstep. And you can see bot lane, one play has gone down so far. It's not too big of a deal. I think you kind of expect the pressure to be here in this 2v2. You will be able to spike a bit later for RNG, but it's definitely not a fun position to be in. And plates are extra important on Senna because Senna obviously doesn't get as much gold when she's fasting. The gold has a lot more value as a result. If you can keep even or close compared to your counterpart without arming at all, then you're doing fantastic. On top of that is you have the support item. Every time you watch your tower, you're getting that 20 gold.
True.
Photic has already upgraded his support item at 5 minutes into the game.
Wow. Wow, that was quick. Serrated Dirk on top of that as well, so the poke's only going to get worse. And Aux, as we keep watching Breed slow this back down from Rich, who's probably going to have to burn the TP, I wanted to ask you a little bit. We haven't seen, you know, the farming center. We come into 12-11, the souls get back up towards the 10% mark, 8.3, I think to be specific. And we're still seeing the fasting center, the same old here from the LPL players. Well, you know, Photic shows us that this isn't changing anytime soon.
Yeah, I think it's just the problem with the farming center has its strength, right? You get more gold. And with the soul buff, you are still behind, but not a massive amount compared to what it would be. The problem is the gold distribution. With the Tahm is quite strong in the mid game with gold. He obviously does fall off. Or you can play lanes like Senna Seraphine, Senna Swain, where you essentially have 2 carries good in the late game. And I think with the slower pace of the game right now, people just prefer that rather than having a standard support.
Which is fair, right? Again, LPL with trends too as Rich just ultis here, but Way's nearby. Timing not great. He flashes away, but Way with the Tempest cripple. Sonic Wave, he doesn't have the kick available, but Breathe! The needlework layers through. Grandma knits him a sweater for the first kill of RNG's game.
And Rich has just had such a horrible time in the top lane. Breathe permanently freezing this wave. He has to constantly contest it. He has to step up. Way does find the pressure to make it happen, and Karsa hasn't really been there to bail Rich out. Yep. So the end result is they finally get that kill, and they will be able to crash the wave as well. You can see on the minimap. In return, Karsa gets a dragon and a blue buff, but Rich definitely not enjoying this situation.
No, he's not. I will point out, though, Karsa's on this blue buff. Not spotted out for now. At the very least, we're seeing pings go down that Way is going towards his camp, but it's the tunnel system that avoids that control ward, hits around the outskirt of vision after Dragon's gone down. So Karsa's still getting a lot of resources here. Back up in CS, going towards his red buff for the continued clear. And Aux now is just about what else he can do, because this Rek'Sai is now level 6. And Karsa, with the ultimate available, a lot more kill threat added, especially when we talked about what lanes he could hit.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of power in the skirmishes as well, especially against things like the Azir or the Ezreal that would normally be able to dash out your range after the knockup. You can follow them, you can finish them off. Prowler's Claw is a big spike for Rek'Sai as well. That dash that you can use when you're burrowed can be really helpful. And we see here, Way was actually spotted on vision. And, you know, you can definitely criticize Rich, the fact he was spotted on vision and still ganked here. The problem is you have to kind of crash the wave. You don't really have too much of a choice. You're not being helped out. So he just thought, if I rush it, at least since level 5, I can probably get away. Answer is he can't. So, you know, there's 2 elements to it. 1 is questionable for Rich, but 2, he also wasn't put in a good position. And every top lane main out there knows how this feels.
Yeah. Well, it hurts. The lapse hurts at the very least, and as Rich comes back, you know, the lane is in a rough state for him. Might even be the Herald play that turns even rougher. Xiaohu with the ulti, force the flash from Karsa, but they re-engage. Dream comes in with the flash charm at melee range. Center ulti helps out as well. Photic, great, but Karsa goes down before he can hold. The Herald too as well as V5 looking for their resets now, and the hopes of Dream. The fill-in for Rookie has his moment in the sun as the ulti gets 1 reset onto Breed. He dies. V5 solo lane is in charge as the Herald goes down with a steal for RNG, but the kills and the blood back in V5's favor.
So Herald's still secured for RNG. They're happy with that one. They also get Gala able to stay bot, push the wave in, but it still kills favored over towards V5. And I think one of the things is when you go in for those aggressive shuffle plays on Azir, if the enemy has flash, chances are he's going to end up in close range in the fight, not achieving anything. And that was essentially the outcome of that one. RNG, I still think they're not exactly unhappy with the outcome, especially since we talked about them leaning into the later stage of the game, but definitely not exactly a positive outcome.
Let's have a quick look because around the Herald, Karsa started this by himself, but it's well warded.
Yeah, and I mean, now Xiaohu has used his ult and all his mobility apart from his flash to get in. And you see Rich is close to the Mega bar. It's a good play from Wei and Breathe to burst out the Rek'Sai before he can ult. But Rich hits Mega. You have Photic here as well. You even have ppgod TPing in the Tahm. So there's just no way RNG were going to take this fight. But they got the Herald. I think if they didn't get the Herald, it'd probably be a bit of a disaster. But they could be happy with the situation. The problem is, look at this bot lane tower. This is a disaster.
Yeah, 4 plates, 10 minutes into the game. Gala and Ming are silent this time around.
Wait, look at the bottom left. Yeah. Photic's already fully stacked his support item. It's over 1,000 gold because it doesn't upgrade until you leave combat. So he's just getting even more gold now.
Aux, he's also got 53 souls at 10 minutes. Oh my god. Holy! I mean, that's beyond.
This is kind of hilarious. You know, I knew this lane matchup was bad, but this is really, they are getting punished hard. And Photic and ppgod, credit to them, they are not giving them a moment to breathe in this situation.
Pun not intended, I'm assuming, because Breathe does get first turret blood with Wei in the top side. But further to your point, that's the trade-off. Photic and ppgod by themselves are going to take this down. Like 56 souls, guys.
Look at the item. He still didn't leave combat, so he's got 1,200 gold from the support item already. 11 minutes in the game, 1,200 gold from the item. And bear in mind, Senna's items are cheap. Honorable Glaive picked up already. You've got the Frostfire Gauntlet coming out from the Tahm. They are strong.
It's funny, we talk so much about Karsa's early game, but Photic and ppgod maybe having one that's a little bit more impactful. But Aux, I'll also add in that it was spring last split where Photic and ppgod had some of their best plays on this duo. ppgod is a big brother here to Photic, who was on top esports in the past, who was someone who people bagged out because he was with Yu Yanja because he was covering for Jackie Love. He's really shone in spring. I think he's been one of my favorite duos to watch, and back on some of their comforts, their strongest champions. Here now with the Umbral Glaive you mentioned, it's versus the Essence Reaver, but Photic in a great position as this fasting Senna. And just as Dragon spawns, B5 already have their first, they have a gold lead, and they've got very strong members to be concerned about Aux as it begins.
Yeah, RNG want to rush this and get out because I don't think they want to contest this as a 5-man. They even have brought Breathe down, who's going to TP top to defend the wave. So a nice play from RNG. Picking up that Dragon actually really important to delay the stacking. And I was talking about the sort of the late game play, how I felt like I favored RNG. This Senna will eventually hit critical mass, and it's going to be sooner rather than later at this rate.
On the set of Tahm Kench, by the way, while we have a moment to spare, 100% win rate so far for ppgod and Photic as the duo. 2 games played of each. Not a lot of data, but still worth mentioning here in the LPL as B5 have played 4 series so far, Aux.
I remember they played it in spring, though, when it wasn't as strong as a lane, but I remember them being fantastic. There was that play where they 2v3'd, and then there was another 2v3 they did in the top lane, So definitely love this lane as a duo. And to be so far ahead so early, I kind of want to see the gold and see. I actually think that Photic might have more gold than Gala at this point, honestly.
But he's too far forward. Sonic Wave eaten up, though. Good kick back here. ppgod knocked back with the charm as well. A lot of shielding, but as Photic flashes away, dodges the Sonic Wave. This is happening again. You just talked about the 2v3. They head up, they survive. Photic and ppgod still heading forward. Now Rich here to help out, and they're not backing off. What?
They're winning.
Again.
And the thing is, RNG do everything right. They find all the CC. The problem is Tahm Kench is a beefcake. You can't take him down, not easily. And Photic, we'll get to see the replay, I'm sure, that the shield from Tahm Kench, that was actually something buffed on 12-11. The base shield at level 6 is 650. How are you supposed to cut through this? And we'll see it come out. So, like, they go in, right? The knock up into the kick. This is really well played. The charm as well. And then look when Senna comes out. Look at that shield. You still have shield left after they try and take out Photic. Photic is full HP. What are you supposed to do? It's just so broken.
I didn't know it was 650. Look at the damage. That wasn't a team fight, but still 4k damage already. Photic a big issue. Now, we've stopped talking about Karsa. We've been talking a lot about the 2v2 in the bottom lane. I want to also point out that we'll keep track of souls as this is a knock-up, but ppgod is a shallow short as Karsa's down nearby, but RNG with numbers advantage until Dream joins in as well. Ming for the engage. Wade jumping in. True shot barrage onto ppgod, but that bridge is not going down anytime soon until he shuffled backwards, but still, he's alive! He's alive, Aux! How? V5
They
have
ask,
gotten
is
a
your
double.
refrigerator running? Yes, it is. It's still running. ppgod is unstoppable right now. And RNG don't know what to do.
V5, this is what we saw in spring. RNG getting blasted, and through the mid lane play that they engaged, are now 2k gold behind. A 3-0 Ahri from Dream, and Photic and ppgod are just playing the Senna Tahm Kench games of their career.
And Dream has been fantastic, picking up these kills. 3-0-2 now on the Ahri. RNG, you know, a lot of people looked at this and went, oh.
Tahm Kench is there, has Devour, holds it for a long time. A lot of trust between these two.
Yeah, and people will look at the series and like, well, V5, they don't have a rookie. Are they really going to beat MSI champions RNG? So far, the answer's looking like yes. Yes, they will. Dream is more than enough. And Photic and ppgod, an absolute bot gapping happening right now. Herald's going to be started by RNG. V5 will scare them off, though.
There's a teleport burned in here from ppgod. You talked about the use of teleports in this game. None available from RNG. They scatter like the wind. And even on a ward, Karsa will end up taking this one. So, Aux, it's a big gold lead in the early game. Big maybe to some people's eyes. At 16 minutes into the game, it's significant. And you did tell me that V5 needed to get off the ground running with this Rek'Sai pick and with how things, I guess, shift for RNG with Azir, with Gwen, with even Ezreal. You talked about Senna as well in contrast, but still it's worth mentioning that the game's not over yet. RNG moving into the mid game can still hunker down a little bit, right?
I do think one thing is that Gala's going to hit some nice mid-game spikes. Typically, we see the Senna struggle in mid-game at times because you're normally down in gold compared to your counterpart. You're down in experience compared to your counterpart. You can see even now with Photic being ahead, he's still leveled down on Gala. But I've seen times where Senna is like 3 levels, 4 levels down a bunch of gold. And it takes a while before you make up the difference and get enough souls to be relevant.
True.
The problem here is like that's not really happened. You're so fed for Photic that you might even kind of skip the mid game and go straight to late game Senna, which is absolutely what V5 need. And if they can continue this momentum, they get a spot. The one caveat I'm going to say is RNG did get that dragon earlier. If they hadn't got that, I would be really scared because I don't think they contest this next dragon. And if we were going to soul point now, I would be ready to be like, RNG look doomed. But they bought themselves an extra 5 minutes.
So let's see what they can do with it. At the very least, coming back to some of our focal points here from V5. Early game's also been about Dream. You said it before, 3-0-2 on this Ahri. Heading towards Banshee's Veil second. Dream has been such a good fill-in for Rookie. Now, we all know that, you know, Rookie is MIA at the moment. We've heard rumors. I'm not going to say anything. This is official broadcast until it gets confirmed, of course. But at the very least, I will say that for V5, right now still looking good with their fill-in mid laner who has shown that he might even deserve a starting spot in splits in the future.
That's two things, Joe. One, Dream has looked good, but two, Spring kind of proved. People thought this was the rookie +4 show. V5 made the claim with their strong regular season performance in Spring that no, this team functions as a 5-man unit. They were good players across the roles. And as much as Rookie is completely fantastic, it wasn't just him. And this opportunity up against RNG is proving it. Them working as a unit without Rookie on the roster. And Dream having a great debut. Now, they'll use the Herald to get a top tower. They're going to try and continue to get a tier 2 here. There is no minion wave, so I think Xiaohu should be able to defend.
But are you ready for what I'm about to tell you? Photic at 91. Soon to be 92 souls at 18 minutes in the game. Everyone right now sitting watching this probably going to have a Senna game thrown out. Solo queue is what they're feeling. It's one of those games where you watch it and you're like, oh man, I want to play Senna.
Also, ppgod just picked up a Warmogs.
Oh.
Okay. He is so tanky. How is Ezreal ever going to kill him? And actually, Xiaohu went with the Ludens. We've seen a lot of Leandries, Azir recently. There is no one who can really cut through this toad. He is unleashed on the Rift.
Well, a 2-item Tahm here from ppgod. Photic with almost 100 souls this early on. Things looking good.
Look at the health bar, by the way.
Yep.
Look, what, the ult did nothing.
And the healing put him right back to absolutely nothing. So at this point, Aux,
tanky. He's got 3k HP. He's immortal.
He just walks forward into Gala. There's nothing Gala can do. ppgod stands in front. Thanks so much. Photic
Look, he's just tanking mystic shots. He doesn't care.
Dream's on the way. I want to point out that Dream now has his second item as well. A 3k gold lead pretty much existing. Maybe 2 if I can do math properly. As Photic walks up to the turret. Dream comes forward. Ulti hit from Photic once again as Way seeks out an angle.
The flank.
But it's Rich versus Bree. Xiaohu's here as well. The ulti misses. Rich about to go into the Mega Gnar. The kick backwards, but he's in 3 people. Ult into the walls. ppgod is now ready to consume. He eats up Rich as he comes out. The shield helping out, but Breathe, along with the True Shot Barrage, just dodged away. They're trying to poke him down. V5's members don't want to die as ppgod goes to the re-engage in front of 5 people.
He's down.
Okay, Aux. Maybe he can die.
It takes 5, but they get him down. RNG finding a beautiful team fight with the flank coming in. You can see the value they got from the Rakan as well. The engage, and now V5 in control of this game. They have to defend 3 members to stop this Baron, and Rich's bar is nowhere near being full.
Well said point. Dream comes through with the charm with the Everfrost as well. Photic doesn't have the Dawning Shadow either, but it might not matter. The range of Senna big at 2.5k. RNG on the Baron. The jungler's down! The jungler's down. Rich ultis against the wall. V5 in the pit. Ming tries. It's secured by Care. Victory 5, well and truly alive.
Oh my lord. Disaster for RNG. You can see they felt forced to start the Baron, but wait, losing so much health. He should have just smited it. He should have just smited early and got the heal. And then maybe been alive to secure it with the Sonic Wave. Oh, but they were all corralled in the pit, and you can see how scared they were of Rich Kid and Mega. We'll get a replay. And the initial fight is pretty solid. We get this flank on a Rich, and Rich does manage to build up Mega. The ult doesn't connect. But in this close range skirmish, they just devote so much attention to shutting down Karsa, shutting down Rich. And Photic isn't really able to do much damage over the wall. And then at this point, V5 are kind of like, okay, we need to back off. We've been chased down. We have lost this fight.
But then, Aux.
But then, ppgod goes in. He's like, I'm immortal. He kind of, maybe he heard my words, took them too seriously. But this is the point where it gets messy. They're all trying to get away from Rich, and they stack in the back of the pit, so those spikes that come out are hitting everyone, and they're getting so worried. Wei takes too much damage. Look at his health, and then he goes down, stunned by the spikes, and they all have to leave, and then Xiaohu tries to secure it, but Dream repositions so the Q ends up getting it, and we go straight back into fight. It is non-stop fighting.
I'm glad it is. At 15 seconds till the Dragon spawns, 109 souls. Photic already at such a large range when he has the Eclipse, and he's also got the Chase Shard. 2.5 item Senna here, and he's got 205 under his name, but also a Magi from Dream who goes forward with the Spirit Rush. Xiaohu tagged. Mega Gnar's timing out though, Aux, and RNG trying to play around it.
Yeah, and we have to watch Ming. This Rakan could be so potent if you find the big engages.
Again,
a lot of summoners down as well.
Oh, and he has one charge. Dawning Shadow comes through. That's a lot of ultis burnt by V5. Rich goes forward as well, but he doesn't have the Mega Gnar as Breathe is the front line. RNG poking out with Xiaohu, and they're doing a pretty good job of buying time for ppgod in the back line with a good charm on top of Way. Jungler getting low while Rich zones out Xiaohu. Gala over the wall as well. Victory 5 way too far ahead as the root hits again. Xiaohu golden to buy time, but ppgod is standing there. The bottom lane from Victory 5 carrying through as they bloody up the MSI champions.
They just massacred them. What can Ezreal do when there's this big frog standing in your face? ppgod, you know, he did go down that previous fight, but once again feels immortal. They're pumping damage in, constantly throwing out these mystic shots, and it just does nothing. V5 get the fight, they'll get that third dragon, and they'll take a bunch of structures too.
This is the V5 we wanted to see, and every single time they play League of Legends, you see a bit of class. Aux, mojo in the name, mojo in the game. Replay time as this looks pretty good for RNG to start.
Yeah, Dream steps forward and has to flash out, but ppgod is just like, you know what? I will walk forward. I will W in. I don't care. And look, they don't even focus him because they know he will never die. Gala's trying to find someone else to hit. Arcane shift to go after Rich, but Rich is gone. And at this point, the fight's already over.
Well, V5 up to play after we see them finish off the final members in this replay. Are so far ahead in gold. I mean, yeah. We've got some emote usage at the end as well. But 10k gold lead here from V5. The third dragon picked up an Aux. I'm not even going to ask you about RNG's condition of late game. Azir, Gwen. I'm not going to ponder about any of that stuff because at this point, with the 16 Magi stack on Dream, with, I'm going to guess, 120 souls on Senna.
And the rapid
V5
fire now, the range is going to be disturbing. And at this point, right, you have 3 items. That's the thing I'm talking about. Normally, Senna is going to be down on items. Normally, Senna will have less items than Ezreal and be down in levels. They're even in levels. Senna has 3 items if you don't include the support item. Rapid fire cannon completed means your auto with a rapid fire will just outrange Ezreal Q. It is so hard to deal with. 120 souls now. Yeah, that deserves a pop-up because it's scary, quite honestly. And V5 is just looking for the way to close this game at a 10,000 gold lead.
It's so funny to me that we had a game that was going to be heavily about Karsa on the Rek'Sai. But once again, V5 have just shown us, as you said before, when Rookie was on the roster, when Rookie was playing in front of us, it's not just the Rookie show. V5 has so many big members. And Photic, as he hits over 120 souls now, when his range is so massive. RNG is struggling to survive in this game, number 1. They're the MSI champions, Orcs, and V5 are making them look like children.
Yeah, Xiaohu's looking for a flank, but Photic, ppgod, Karsa, Rich all have flash. It's only
Ming,
Dream without.
Ming starting the engage. Gnar's going to come up. Turret's going to go down. Xiaohu on a wall. They spotted him out. And ppgod can go zone him as Rich goes into Gnar. The turret there, but as Xiaohu ult through, Rich flashes past it. Bit of Tokyo drifting there as Dream with a charm and Everfrost onto way, damage done, but no charm hitting. V5 still get what they came for, and that's breaking the RNG base.
Yeah, if that was Tokyo Drift, that was that scene at the start when he crashes his car through the houses.
Yeah.
That was not pretty from Xiaohu. Not but fun. And Photic is just chasing people down. So scary on the center right now. Wade's looking for Rich maybe, but I don't think you have the damage to kill him. And the thing is, V5, they didn't get the inhibitor. They don't need it. It's 2 minutes until that dragon. Mountain Soul will just be so painful. ppgod's already so hard to kill. They have to burst Photic out, but that Mountain Soul just makes it even harder to do so.
Orcs, my fondest memory of RNG, just to quickly drop in, was when Karsa was on the roster. And I remember him with Xiaohu having an absolute ball. 2018 MSI. RNG, of course, one of the favorites. Pulling it all out. Karsa part of that roster. And Xiaohu versing his old jungler in this one is a nice touch considering that we only see our best of 3s against a team like this. And in a matchup, if I can get my words out properly, once a split. And right now, we don't even get a chance to talk about it because Photic's range is insane.
Look at the confidence.
And he's got ppgod by his side. Way with the kick.
Oh, no.
Thank you so much. Huge nope. And Way's at half HP.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? The setter, so strong in the scaling. The Tahm Kench, the safety net. Not even having to burn a flash there. Oh, two-shot barrage comes in. I just heal the damage up. And Setter is full build now. Has picked up that Vigilant Wards on the support item that gives you an extra percentage of AD. Oh, Rich.
Trying for a final stand. He's about to go into the Gnar, but Xiaohu lockdown once again. Has to get out with the shifting sands, but V5 continue to poke them down. 28 minutes in with Dragon Soul coming up in 50 seconds. Orcs trying to bait around the Baron. Okay, not Baron. Well, we got Dragon in 45. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see how RNG even get close. They have TPs. The problem is I don't have a ward that's deep. I really think the play would be have a deep ward, TP everyone in, kill Photic while ppgod's ult is unavailable. If this sounds ludicrous to you, it's because it is. I just don't feel like there's a good play to get this dragon. And once this Mountain Soul secured, I think that's Kittens.
Yep, as should be. RNG struggling to have an impact. It was a competitive early game of some sort, but this bottom lane has been the story mainly. With Dream being a close second here now with the Rabadons, but look at the Baron. The RNG trying to sneak this one. It's Way and Breathe over the wall, but Rich, big brain here. Lens is going to come through.
Hey, guys.
But they're not stopping. But Rich does so much damage himself. They're all pulling off of the Dragon. RNG are not going to get their time to play this one as a bit of a flip. As Teleport comes through in the mid lane. Sevetnh is going down fast, but Dream has arrived. Spirit Rush in. Rich's ulti against the wall. Once again, V5's motto to RNG in this game one is a big, fat note. Nice steal. Way gets a steal. It's an effort, but everybody's dead, and Victory 5 are denying the MSI champions hope in this first game.
Well, at least they got the Baron this time, but once more, RNG are swept from the map. 5-0. No buffs left and no base left after this. Match of the week, a series we expected to be a battle, but the edge was, of course, over to RNG, the MSI champions. V5 completely dispelled that with a dominating Game 1 performance.
So many players to talk about, but V5 coming through 18-4, not even needing a soul. The gold leader meant at 30 minutes, and that's Senna and Tahm, ppgod, and Photic put on a masterclass against Gala and Ming.
Yep. A look at the shock in V5's faces. Was that really RNG? MSI champions RNG? Yeah, that's how I feel as well. No, obviously V5 just had a blind of a game, and I think it showed some of the issues in draft, right? The Ezreal, Rakan, they weren't able to hold up. We never saw, like, the Lee Sin from Wei spent more time preventing Karsa than really making things happen. And as a result, if you put that bot lane 2v2 isolated, you have no jungle intervention, that is what happens. That is what happens, and you saw Photic and ppgod never gave up any space. On top of that, the early Azir blind, I'm not as big of a fan. We've seen Xiaohu sometimes be this proactive mid, well, not sometimes, at MSI and playoffs, last split, be a very proactive mid, being able to move around the map. Imagine if we had Xiaohu coming down bot lane, punishing the fact that ppgod and Photic spent the entire laning phase at the enemy team's tower. It could have been a different game, but that's not what happened in V5. They didn't let up for a second.
Yeah, Gala and Ming didn't get to play whatsoever.
Gala, no, dude, Gala in particular, in those fights, mystic shots tickling the Tahm Kench. Just like, yep, this is my life.
What do you do? And we had a real big conversation in that game about what had to happen for V5 at the very start. What the Rek'Sai had to do. The level 2 gank, time sacrifice, but at least Rich was on the board. At least there was, blood in the water. Xiaohu had to TP back to lane. Okay, things settled. We then got the bottom lane ramping up at the cost of top lane there, but the Gnar Orcs always going to be relevant. Breathe wasn't able to do much with the lead, and RNG, the map was burning meanwhile because Ahri was just unleashed in the hint of things.
Yeah, I think the thing, especially when you're taking a Lee Sin benefits from having a lane with setup. If you had something like, I know it was banned, but something like Lissandra in the mid lane really helps because you lock someone in place. The Sonic Wave is guaranteed to land. You have that burst damage. You can even just ward hop, land the Sonic Wave, ward hop in, deal enough damage, and execute to finish off. You have lanes in top lane that can function in that way as well. But ultimately, top lane has no setup, mid lane has no setup. Bot lane has limited setup, but realistically, Rakan's not the ideal pick, especially as one of those picks is the Tahm who can body block Sonic Waves and Mystic Shots. And so as a result, Wei felt subdued. I was saying that I felt like if the laning phase just played out, RNG would be favored. This bot lane, though, really just took it to 11. And you can see, look at Gala's damage. He nearly did as much damage as Photic, but it didn't matter.
He hit a Tahm. Yeah, he just hit a Tahm Kench. There's props going to be given over and over to Photic, ppgod, and Dream. This game, though, a real good sign that V5 coming in firing to the split once again. At the start of the segment, I said that V5 were the chosen ones. They were first seed Orcs. First seed of spring. They got knocked down by top esports and knocked out. And we're at a point where V5, now knowing that there's 4 seeds available for Worlds, with how well they're playing League of Legends, a lot of people coming into the split being like, this team should be a Worlds contender. With games like that, I think it's easy to say. As we're about to go to a break, folks, V5, game number 1 was a handed win here. I don't know if they're going to get set a Tahm again from ppgod and Photic, but we'll find out after the break.